Ever find yourself mindlessly scrolling through your feed, only to be suddenly hooked by a 60-second clip about something super technical like online privacy? You watch the whole thing, and by the end, you're literally ready to dive into your phone settings? Well, that is definitely no accident. In this explainer, we're going to deconstruct the actual blueprint behind a viral short. We've got our hands on a real-world creative brief for a cybersecurity channel, and we are going to reverse engineer exactly how creators manufacture that perfect blend of education and urgency.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap. We'll start with the channel strategy, then break down the 60-second structure, look at the strict content constraints, and finally, check out the required project deliverables.
Starting off with Section 1, the channel strategy.
Before you even type a single word of a script, you gotta know exactly who's watching. For this specific brief, targeting platforms like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, the assigned topic is VPN versus Proxy. What's the difference? Now, I know that sounds a little dry at first, right? But that's exactly the genius here. The whole goal is to take a highly technical concept and make it genuinely captivating for an everyday audience by breaking down a concrete risk and presenting a crystal clear solution.
Look at this explicit instruction on tone. Clear, direct, no unnecessary jargon, slightly urgent or alarming without tipping into sensationalism. Guys, this is a massive psychological balancing act. If you're too boring, they swipe away instantly. If you scream that the digital sky is falling, they write you off as cheap fear-mongering clickbait. The writer has to engineer a vibe that says, hey, this is a real problem you need to pay attention to right now, while keeping absolute credibility.
Moving on to Section 2, the 60-second structure.
When you only have 45 to 60 seconds to explain a complex cybersecurity concept, you literally cannot ramble. The brief demands a rigid second-by-second breakdown. 0 to 8 seconds, that's your hook. 8 to 20 is the problem. 20 to 40 is the solution. 40 to 52 explains why it actually matters. And the final 8 seconds is your call to action. Literally every single second is accounted for. It's mathematically designed for our modern attention spans. Let's break this down a bit more.
Those first 8 seconds are do or die. The brief explicitly states you must make people stop scrolling with a shocking hook or question that creates immediate urgency. Think about it. The viewer's thumb is literally hovering over the screen. If you don't jolt them out of that passive scrolling trance instantly, the rest of your script just doesn't matter because they won't stick around to hear it.
Once you've got them hooked, you have exactly 12 seconds to set up the problem. It has to be realistic, totally relatable, and have absolutely zero jargon. Think of explaining the hidden danger of that free coffee shop Wi-Fi. Then boom, at second 20 you pivot to the solution. You spend a solid 20 seconds empowering the viewer with a concrete fix, like a VPN, explaining exactly how it works in plain English. Notice that contrast. A fast, relatable problem followed instantly by an empowering, concrete solution.
As we hit the closing sequence, step 1 is to broaden the scope for 12 seconds. You have to prove to the viewer that this topic actually affects them and isn't just optional. Finally, step 2 wraps it up with a short, consistent call to action. Check the link in the description or hit subscribe. No aggressive sales pitches allowed. It has to feel like the completely natural next step for someone who just learned something new.
All right, Section 3, strict content constraints. Knowing the timing is great, but the actual dialogue is governed by ironclad rules designed to keep the audience locked in. Short sentences, dynamic pacing, no digressions whatsoever. You simply cannot waste time on a tangent. Plus, absolutely no false promises or unfounded fear allowed. You have to stay strictly factual. By dodging those clickbait traps, the channel establishes real authority rather than just being an empty hype machine.
And here is the golden rule. No technical term without an immediate, simple explanation. If you drop a phrase like encryption protocol or IP masking, you better follow it up instantly with a real-world metaphor, like a secret tunnel for your data. The second a viewer feels confused, they feel stupid. And when they feel stupid, they swipe. Simplicity isn't just nice to have here. It's an absolute requirement for survival in the algorithm.
Finally, Section 4, required project deliverables.
If you thought writing a short just meant jotting down a few lines of dialogue, check out this table. It maps out what the writer actually has to hand over. First, the time-coded script, but it goes way beyond that. They also need 3 SEO-optimized title options with 0 clickbait, a ready-to-use description packed with emojis and hashtags, a curated list of 10 to 15 SEO tags, and lastly, a fully fleshed out thumbnail concept. The writer is basically engineering the entire search and discovery metadata strategy.
Let's zoom in on that thumbnail requirement for a second.
The brief dictates a very specific visual mood. The theme is digital invisibility, using dark, neon cyan violet branding. The scriptwriter is actually dictating the visual composition and text overlay to make sure it perfectly aligns with the channel's identity. Everything, right down to the exact shade of neon violet, works together to create a cohesive brand experience before you even click.
5. That is the total number of distinct, highly specialized outputs generated from just this single brief. I really want you to think about that. To launch a mere 60 seconds of content, a creator is strategizing a time-coded script, optimizing titles, writing descriptions, researching tags, and conceptualizing visual art. It is a massive, comprehensive effort hiding right beneath the surface of what looks like a simple, off-the-cuff minute of entertainment.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The next time you scroll past a 60-second short, will you notice the invisible psychological engineering hiding in plain sight? Will you spot that 8-second hook or the seamless pivot from a relatable problem to a concrete fix at the 20-second mark? Next time you're captivated by bite-sized content, you'll know the exact architecture that put it there. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep your eyes open out there in the feed.